Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ademir Villacorta, and I'm the president of SHARP, a student having awareness rising to progress. So this is a town hall for students to ask your representatives in Sacramento your questions, your concerns. The topic of today is just a budget cuts and how it's affecting you. That's the agenda, and that's what I want you guys to focus on.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to introduce the representatives that have come from Felipe Fuentes and Alex Padilla's office. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, Alex Padilla and Felipe Fuentes weren't able to come and make it today because, as you guys might know, right now Sacramento is in session and they work from Monday through Thursday. And because of the whole budget cuts and the whole budget trying to be passed and everything, they're extending their work hours even until the weekend. So today we have Jerry Guzman representing Felipe Fuentes, and he's the district director, and we have Alex Barnuevo from Alex Padilla's office. So I would like you guys to meet them with a round of applause and thank them for being here and actually listening to what we have to say.
So my name is Jerry. Actually, my name is Gerardo Guzman, but I go by Jerry if you can't roll that second R. And I'm the district director for Assemblymember Felipe Fuentes. Felipe Fuentes is a representative in the California State Assembly, and I imagine that by now you know, clearly you know the difference between the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch, right, of government. And so you know that the legislative branch in the state of California is bicameral. We have the upper house, which is the state Senate. Angel Barnuevo is here representing Senator Alex Padilla, and I'm here representing Assemblymember Felipe Fuentes, who's in the lower house called the State Assembly. There's 80 members in the California State Assembly and 40 members in the California State Senate.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Good. Well, first, my name is Angel Barnuevo. I'm here on behalf of State Senator Alex Padilla. The Assemblymember represents the 39th Assembly District, which encompasses LA Mission College, and we represent the 20th Senate. So as legislators, you know, something that's very important to us is communicating with our constituency and having them advocate. As I mentioned, you know, we're here supporting you. We're here to support you, but we also need help. When we talk to our Republican colleagues, there are, 120 members in the legislature, 40 of them senators, 80 of them assembly members. So, you know, not all of them are Democrats. There's a mix of Democrats and Republicans. We need help talking to our Republican colleagues and asking them, hey, you know, when we cut, this affects real people. When we begin talking about reducing the budget for education, this affects everybody in our districts. This increases fees and it hurts a lot of people. You know, and that's actually why we're here today, to talk to you a little bit about that and what is kind of being done on our level and kind of what we're doing to kind of counteract that. How many remember last year when Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was here to sign one of the senator's bills, 1440? You were. So that's one of the measures that the senator did. Obviously, we're in a $27 billion deficit, $27 billion with a B, not million, billion. So that's a big deficit. Part of what we did, or what the senator did, to help students, specifically in community colleges, is he created an AA transfer degree, making it easier for students to transfer from a community college to a four-year university, to either a CSU or UC, and he guarantees them a seat if you receive this AA degree. So what does that do? Well, that, one, reduces the time that you're here at community college, and two, it assures you a seat in one of our California state systems. So that's kind of some of the measures that we're doing, right, that doesn't cost a lot of money, saves money, right, and it helps us in the long term with dealing with the budget as well.
So we're going to open it up right now for your questions, please, but remember, stay on topic. The budget cuts and here in the community colleges, how it's affecting you.
Yes, Eugene Hernandez. Yesterday, there was an article here in the LA Times saying that Padilla wants no warrant searches for people who make copies of CDs. And, you know, also Padilla wanted to also monopolize prison phone calls to one company. What I want to know is, if he's taking these extraordinary steps on behalf of the recording industry, what extraordinary steps is he taking on behalf of education? Like, for instance, making a bill that students don't have to pay back their student loans until they find suitable employment, or maybe having these recording industries pay or subsidize the cost of books. Because the only solutions that both of you have presented is an extension of the taxes. Who's paying the taxes? The middle class. The rich are not paying their share of taxes, even though 67% of California say the rich should pay their share of taxes, and they're not. GE doesn't pay taxes. Shell doesn't pay taxes. None of these companies pay taxes, but they get a tax refund. What you have failed to include in your solutions is reforming Proposition 13, the commercial aspect of it. Studies after studies have shown that since Proposition 13 passed, education in California went from #1 in the nation to 49. You know, you can balance the budget just on the basis of reforming Proposition 13 or the oil extraction tax. Texas and Alaska have a tax on pulling out the oil from the ground. California is the only state that doesn't have a tax. You know, the state legislators can't even pass a tax on soft drinks. They say $17 billion would have been earned had you passed a tax on soft drinks. But all those simple, low-hanging fruits seems to be out of your grasp. The only thing that you have done is pass legislation on behalf of special interest groups like the recording industry. When are you going to take extraordinary steps to help students and help the taxpayer here in California?
Yes, well, thank you, Eugene. And in answer to some of those questions, the recording industry bill that you mentioned, that's actually still a bill. It's not a law. Part of the reason why the senator introduced that law was because of the piracy issues that are currently going on. A lot of jobs are being lost, and a lot of revenues are being lost. For that specific reason is that a lot of these companies themselves are finding that their own employees are making extra runoff copies of CDs and selling them on the market, right? So a lot of jobs, a lot of revenues are being lost. And in a time when we are in a financial crisis, part of what we want to do is make sure that those jobs stay here in California and they don't go out anywhere else. Another thing you mentioned is what have we done? Well, the governor he does big presentations he only does about 7 to 8 big presentations of monumental bills that he passes from different legislatures, from thousands of bills that he signs. Last year, the senator was here with the governor that signed SB 1440, which again is for community college students specifically. And he didn't sign it in the governor's office. He signed it right here at Mission College. Actually, as I remember, he signed it right there on the podium. The governor doesn't do that for many, many bills, only 7 a year out of thousands. So yes, we are working very hard to, we're working very hard to come up with solutions. Part of the reasons why we mentioned the tax extensions is because that's what's on the table. We would love to hear other solutions. I would love to sit with you after and, discuss other solutions, and I can take them back to the senator and see what we can come up with. Like I said, we support you. You have our full support. We don't like to see cuts. When our bosses they ran on the premise of bringing more services, not cutting services to their constituencies. However, we do realize that California is in a very difficult situation, and some, difficult decisions have to be made. That's what being a leader is about, is making some of those tough decisions. There was one other one, the oil extraction fee. Yes, that is something that is being looked at. That is something that we would entertain. Will it be proposed? But again, Democrats, I'm sure, would propose it. But in talking to Republicans, would Republicans support something like that? Probably not. The other thing you mentioned is the soda tax. Well, actually, we took on that industry pretty heavily, and sugary, sports drinks. The senator had about 3 major hearings specifically on that and their effects on, obesity and diabetes. So yes, actually those are all the issues that the senator is tackling, and not from the industry side, but from the consumer side. We are looking at the effects that these industries are having on the consumers and our constituents.
Okay, so for either one of you, what are you doing to stop the budget cuts? And what happened to the children being the future of America? I mean, this is our education, so what are you guys doing to stop them?
We are working to build a budget that includes education as a priority. That's what we're doing. So in order to fully fund education, there needs to be a revenue stream. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people who have had their homes foreclosed on. There's a lot of people who have lost their jobs. And our economy is hurting. But we are in the middle of a recovery. The state coffers have received $6.6 billion more than the projected revenue. So we are on the upswing in terms of the recovery. And hopefully things will get a whole lot better than that. But there is still $35 billion worth of debt that was accumulated in the last 7 years in our state budget based on borrowing, based on these gimmicks. So the best, most reasonable proposal is to propose a budget that has real numbers where the expenditures are in line with the money that's coming into the state coffers.
How is the students transferring to a higher education system when the community colleges are cutting their classes? I mean, our budget has dropped by 15%, and we're stuck here pretty much for another year. I mean,
look, I understand that, and let me address your concern. I've worked for Assemblymember Fuentes for about 4 years. I'm his district director, so I am his eyes and ears and his representative when he's in Sacramento, okay? So all of this information will be reported back to him. I will report back to him directly on all the information that I'm hearing here today. We are doing everything we can to fully fund the classes here, but you know what? The community college district has a role to play too. When you look at the Santa Monica Community College, when you look at College of the Canyons, what are their transfer rates? Their transfer rates are through the roof. What are your transfer rates at this school? Whose fault is that? Is it the state's fault, or is it the administration's fault, or is it the student's fault? We can all take a little bit of the blame, I'm sure, right? But let's not play the blame game. Let's work together to try to move forward.
Okay, but we're not blaming.
No, I'm not blaming the students.
Okay,
I'm not blaming the students. I said let's not play the blame game.
Danny.
Let's work together to move forward and get over this.
Guys, okay. If there's a tax extension, will that keep tuition low?
Yes, if the tax extensions are voted on, then it will go to the voters. It will go to you guys. So then the people will have the decision whether to keep them or not. And if the people decide that yes, they want the tax extensions, and yes, it stays at current level at where it's at now. With no tax extensions, that means we have to go back and revisit the budget again, and that's probably going to mean, unfortunately, a decrease in revenues. So yes, that would keep, current funding levels at where they're at now. This budget proposal is assuming that the people will pass the tax extension, so it would stay the same of what we're proposing now.
If you are his eyes and ears, then why don't you know his position on the bill AB 515? Please, a minute, and that's about it. In under a minute, please.
Because I'm not that smart.
Thank you. Please, let's stay calm. All right. Please,
Danny.
we need to give time for all the students to, I understand we're all angry about education and how it's affecting us, but please, let's be respectful towards the representatives here because they've taken their time and they're here to represent the legislators that we've invited, because they're doing it in Sacramento, they're trying to pass the budget so we can have lower unit fees. So please, let's just be respectful, and we're trying to get everybody to, we're trying to get Ademir to read all the questions that you guys have, and we're asking the representatives to please keep it under a minute so we can ask all the questions.
Yes.
Thank you. Education being a privilege for the wealthy only now, because we that are low-income students feel blocked from getting an education that should be a right, not a privilege. 1 minute, please.
Can you please let them answer? Let them answer, please.
Yeah,
Let them answer.
By supporting something called the DREAM Act. So Assembly Bill 130 passed the Appropriations Committee, which Assemblymember Fuentes chairs, and just recently, next Friday, we're going to hear Assembly Bill 131, which is part 2 of the DREAM Act. And Assemblymember Fuentes chairs the committee. He has already made a commitment to not only to support Assembly Bill 131, but to make sure it passes out of the Appropriations Committee. So you can watch that. He's gonna, Senator Padilla has committed to vote for it when it gets to the state Senate. Because remember, it has to pass both houses, okay? So in our house, it's gonna pass, okay? You have that commitment.
Education being a privilege for the wealthy only now, because we that are low-income students feel blocked from getting an education that should be a right, not a privilege. 1 minute, please.
Can you please let them answer? Let them answer, please.
yeah,
Let them answer.
By supporting something called the DREAM Act. So Assembly Bill 130 passed the Appropriations Committee, which Assemblymember Fuentes chairs, and just recently, next Friday, we're going to hear Assembly Bill 131, which is part 2 of the DREAM Act. And Assemblymember Fuentes chairs the committee. He has already made a commitment to not only to support Assembly Bill 131, but to make sure it passes out of the Appropriations Committee. So you can watch that. He's gonna, Senator Padilla has committed to vote for it when it gets to the state Senate. Because remember, it has to pass both houses, okay? So in our house, it's gonna pass, okay? You have that commitment.
Okay, so we have, go for it.
sorry, can I answer that question as well? No, we agree, absolutely agree, and we are your voice in Sacramento. And look, when we raise fees, when budgets are cut, guess what happens? Exactly what you just, or whoever just asked in that question, you are decreasing how somebody can get into college, right? You are, making college unrealistic for someone that's struggling or that's have a lower income. What we're fighting for is to do the opposite. We want to make sure we open it up, and we want to make sure that we increase access to education, not decrease, right? But we need your help. We're like I mentioned, 120 legislators. Our bosses are 2 of 140. They're a very strong 2, but they're 2 of 140. We need your help. Like Jerry mentioned, Santa Monica City Colleges, they're very well organized. They get thousands of people out, and they talk to the representatives, they go up, they lobby. Well, we need that same level of commitment from you guys. You're preaching to the choir, we get it, we want to increase. The senators from Pacoima, the assembly member as well, grew up here in the Northeast, they get it, they know what it's like. We're up there fighting for that exact same thing. We want to increase access to education, not decrease it. So, but we need your help, whether it be voting via tax extensions, whether it be calling some of our Republican colleagues, whatever it be, staying informed about the budget, learning about this, coming to these town halls, calling our offices when you need help, calling other legislators' offices and lobbying for that kind of stuff is important. Because guess what? I guarantee you other community colleges, there's other places that are doing it as well. So we got to make sure that you guys do that as well and help us out.
Okay, so this is the last question, and this one comes from everybody here. Can we count on your support as the students of community college that our fees will not be raised again?
Yes.
And how?
Yeah, you have our commitment that we will fight for education. Will it stay the same? If we pass tax extensions, if it gets sent to the voters and voters pass tax extensions, yes, fees will stay the same. You have our commitment that that's what we will fight for. That is currently what Democrats are fighting for. That's what we're fighting for. That's the plan. So yes, absolutely, that is what we're fighting. But like I mentioned, out of 2.7 million students in community colleges, you know, it's going to take a lot. But yes, you have our commitment.
On behalf of Assemblymember Fuentes, you have the Assemblymember's commitment that he will absolutely fight tooth and nail to make sure that the college tuition will stay at the level that it is if we get those tax extensions passed.